Some games launched with all the hype in the world and still sank without a trace. Maybe it was bad timing, messy marketing, or simply being too weird for the mainstream. Yet beneath the sales charts and lukewarm reviews lie experiences bursting with ambition and personality. This list revisits 10 commercial flops, spanning espionage thrillers, ambitious action RPGs, and wild experiments that deserve another shot at the spotlight.
Try smiling once in a while.
That's enough. We don't want to keep...
Binary Domain launched to quiet sales despite having big ideas beneath its metal skin. On the surface, it's a squad-based cover shooter, tight controls, and satisfying gunplay. But beneath the corridors, it carried something more humane. Set in a near-future Tokyo where robots and humans collide, the story forces you into firefights that are also social experiments. How do your team members react to you? And how does that trust or lack of it change the way they fight? Its most interesting mechanic was the trust and consequence system. Squad mates remember your tactics and your temperament. Reckless heroics, tactical restraint, or cold pragmatism shift trust values that alter dialogue, mission choices, and even combat performance. That makes every engagement more than a numbers test, saving a teammate or leaving them exposed echoes in later chapters. Enemies evolve as well. What starts as predictable drones becomes mechanical opponents that flank, coordinate, and feint, forcing you to think beyond simple cover-and-shoot patterns. So why did it underperform commercially? A crowded market, marketing that emphasized shooter trappings over emotional quirks, and a handful of criticisms about repetitive set pieces kept it from breaking through. Reviewers often praised its heart, but noted level design and pacing issues that dulled the impact. As a result, the game looked run-of-the-mill on store shelves. That attempt lands differently today. People today value narrative shooters with meaningful squad dynamics and emergent AI behavior, things Binary Domain prioritized years ago. A modern re-release that polishes pacing, adds more varied environments, and highlights the conversation and trust systems would make the emotional undercurrents pop. Add a director's edition with small quality-of-life fixes and some extra mission variety, and the game would stop feeling like a missed opportunity and start feeling like a thoughtful hybrid.
People? You don't look like the Resistance. You're here to enjoy yourselves.
When Arcane Studios released Dark Messiah of Might and Magic in 2006, it looked at first like just another fantasy hack and slash. Underneath, though, was an early proof of concept for the immersive sim magic the studio would later perfect in Dishonored and Prey. Set in a grim universe adjacent to the Might and Magic strategy series, it dropped you into tight first-person combat arenas that rewarded experimentation over rote swordplay. The physics-driven combat was, and still is, the showstopper. Kicking an enemy into a spike trap or off a bridge was more satisfying than any sword combo. Fire barrels could be hurled to ignite oil slicks. Ropes could be cut to send chandeliers crashing down, and enemies reacted dynamically, stumbling, slipping, and screaming in pain. Pair those interactions with a robust skill tree that let you mix stealth, archery, elemental magic, and melee mastery, and every encounter became a playground for creative problem-solving. Critics at launch praised the sheer fun of its combat, but dinged its uneven story pacing, occasionally clumsy voice acting, and technical quirks like awkward AI pathing. Its narrative of demon bloodlines and apocalyptic prophecy was serviceable pulp rather than high fantasy literature, and multiplayer never found an audience. These issues, combined with a crowded PC market, meant sales never matched its groundbreaking mechanics. Yet modern players who discover it today often marvel at how fresh it feels. The tactile first-person action influenced later genre hybrids and can be felt in everything from Skyrim's dungeon combat to Arcane's own later masterpieces. A well-executed remaster with smoother controls and higher fidelity physics could easily reintroduce this hidden gem to a new generation. Dark Messiah wasn't a failure of design. It was a victim of timing, and its inventive combat still puts many contemporary RPGs to shame. People Can Fly's Bulletstorm wore its irreverence proudly, but its sharp design was lost amid marketing that pushed crude jokes over its genuine innovation. At heart, it's a single-player shooter obsessed with creativity and score chasing. where skill shots reward you for dispatching enemies in the most inventive, over-the-top ways possible. Whip an enemy into the air, kick them into a cactus, explode a gas canister mid-flight. The game turns environmental chaos into a scoring ballet. Mechanically, it's brilliant. The energy leash lets you yank foes from cover, suspend them in slow motion, and combo gunfire or melee for massive points. Every arena is a sandbox of traps, explosive barrels, and gravity-defying opportunities. Instead of punishing flamboyance, Bulletstorm celebrates it, constantly pushing you to experiment with weapons and surroundings to rack up higher scores. Few shooters before or since have so thoroughly gamified creativity in combat. Unfortunately, its marketing leaned hard on frat boy humor and juvenile catchphrases, which turned off many potential players and overshadowed its clever systems. Released during a crowded spring season, it was quickly dismissed as another loud shooter. Critics praised its mechanics, but noted a thin plot and over-the-top dialogue that distracted from the gameplay's genuine brilliance. Today, with the full-clip edition remaster and a gaming culture more appreciative of stylish single-player experiences, Bulletstorm feels prescient. Its kinetic, combo-driven gunplay paved the way for later arcade-style shooters and even influenced games like Doom 2016, with its emphasis on momentum and spectacle. Given a second chance, with marketing that highlights its inventive combat instead of crude jokes, Bulletstorm could finally earn recognition as one of the most creative and exhilarating shooters of its era. It's a game where the point isn't just to win, but to win beautifully. Released in 2010 by Ninja Theory, Enslaved Odyssey to the West had the pedigree to stand out. Strong combat design, platforming with cinematic flair, and an award-winning writing team led by novelist Alex Garland. It arrived in a crowded fall window dominated by juggernauts like Halo Reach and Black Ops, and quietly slipped into obscurity despite near-universal praise from critics who actually played it. A loose reimagining of the 16th century Chinese epic journey to the West, the game follows Monkey and Trip across a vibrant, overgrown, post-apocalyptic America. Instead of endless gray rubble, the world blooms with color. Towering skyscrapers draped in ivy, sunlit canyons dotted with mechanical remnants of humanity. The motion capture performances of Andy Serkis and Lindsay Shaw bring the characters' uneasy partnership to life, balancing sarcasm, tension, and genuine warmth as the story unfolds. Gameplay blends fluid melee combat, staff-based ranged attacks, and streamlined climbing sequences. While not as mechanically deep as a Devil May Cry or Uncharted, its pacing and set-piece design keep the journey exciting without overstaying its welcome. The bond between Monkey and Trip drives the narrative forward, creating emotional stakes that still resonate more than a decade later. So why did it flop? Minimal marketing, a brief 8 to 10 hour campaign that didn't justify a $60 launch price for many players, and competition from bigger franchises meant poor sales despite strong reviews. Today, Enslaved feels ahead of its time. A character-driven, cinematic action-adventure that prefigured the narrative focus of modern hits like The Last of Us. A remaster with 4K visuals and refined controls could easily capture a new audience. For those who missed it, the PC version remains playable and serves as proof that heartfelt storytelling can elevate even a short action game into something unforgettable. Platinum Games' Mad World was a bold, bloody oddity when it hit the Wii in 2009, a console better known for Wii Sports and family-friendly fare. Presented entirely in stark black and white with splashes of arterial red, it looked like a living graphic novel. Players stepped into the shoes of Jack Kamen, a chainsaw-armed anti-hero competing in a televised death game where style and brutality meant ratings. Combat is gleefully over the top. You don't just defeat enemies. You humiliate them with environmental finishers, impale them on spikes, stuff them into trash cans, or launch them into moving trains, all while a bombastic soundtrack and hilariously foul-mouthed commentary egg you on. The motion controls, surprisingly responsive for the Wii, turn every chainsaw swing and finishing move into a kinetic spectacle. Despite critical praise for its art direction and relentless energy, it was a commercial disappointment. Its ultra-violence scared off many Wii owners, and its short 6 to 8 hour campaign gave cautious buyers pause. Some critics also found the camera occasionally unwieldy and the combat repetitive over long sessions. Yet the game's bold aesthetic and unapologetic embrace of cartoonish carnage remain unmatched. It stands as an early example of Platinum Games' signature blend of stylish action and irreverent tone that would later shine in Bayonetta and Metal Gear Rising. In today's landscape of remasters and cult rediscoveries, Mad World deserves a second chance on modern platforms with high-definition visuals and refined controls. It's a reminder that games can be outrageous, stylish, and wildly fun without sacrificing mechanical precision. A black and white masterpiece hiding in plain sight on Nintendo's most family-friendly console. When Spec Ops: The Line released in 2012, many dismissed it as just another generic military shooter. The marketing didn't help. Trailers emphasized sandstorms and firefights rather than the game's true heart. A scathing, psychologically intense deconstruction of the modern wargame itself. Players expecting a standard hoorah campaign instead found themselves in a harrowing descent into moral ambiguity that still sparks discussion more than a decade later. Set in a sand-buried Dubai, the story follows Captain Martin Walker and his Delta Force team sent to investigate a mysterious radio signal after a cataclysmic storm. What begins as a rescue mission spirals into a nightmare of shifting alliances, civilian casualties, and impossible choices. Inspired by Apocalypse Now and Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, the narrative forces you to question every action. There are no right answers, only escalating consequences and haunting reflections on the violence you've committed. Gameplay-wise, Spec Ops uses a competent cover shooter framework, but that's the point. The familiar mechanics lull you into a false sense of routine before weaponizing them to unsettle you. The oppressive heat, blinding sandstorms, and haunting visuals heighten the tension. While Nolan North delivers a career-best performance as Walker, his voice cracking as the character's sanity unravels. Despite glowing critical analysis and a devoted cult following, Spec Ops: The Line struggled commercially. Many players overlooked it, and even publisher 2K has admitted it didn't meet sales expectations. Today, it stands as one of the most powerful examples of games as narrative art, offering an experience that challenges not just your reflexes, but your conscience. A modern re-release or remaster could introduce this haunting masterpiece to players ready to confront its uncomfortable truths. Capcom's Remember Me arrived in 2013 with an intriguing premise and stunning art direction, but was overshadowed by bigger releases and mixed reviews. Set in a cyberpunk Paris of 2084, the game follows Neeline, a memory hunter who can remix people's memories to alter their behavior. A concept far more inventive than most sci-fi blockbusters. Visually, it's breathtaking. The neon-drenched streets of Neo Paris, the massive spire of the Bastille prison, and the elegant yet oppressive corporate towers create a world both gorgeous and unsettling. Composer Olivier Derivière's dynamic score shifts seamlessly between orchestral swells and electronic beats, heightening every moment of exploration and combat. Gameplay blends third-person platforming with a unique combo lab system that lets you craft custom melee combos by selecting different moves and effects. The highlight, though, is the memory remix sequences, where you dive into a target's recollections and manipulate details to change their perception of reality. These sections are brief but unforgettable, showcasing creativity rarely seen in action games of the era. So why did it flop? Critics praised the concept and world building, but found the combat repetitive and the story occasionally predictable. Released during a crowded summer season, it failed to capture a mainstream audience. Yet time has been kind to Remember Me. Its striking visuals still hold up, and its ideas about memory, identity, and corporate control feel even more relevant today. A remaster with smoother combat and a heavier emphasis on memory remixing could easily win over modern players hungry for fresh cyberpunk experiences. For those who missed it the first time, Remember Me remains a stylish, ambitious gem that dared to be different. even if the world wasn't quite ready for it.
Private police financed by memorizing. Crowd control with a smile.
When Alpha Protocol launched in 2010, it stumbled into retail like a spy who'd been double-crossed, promising, scarred, and wildly ambitious. Obsidian tried to graft espionage drama onto RPG scaffolding, and the result was messy but unforgettable. You play a field operative who goes rogue after a mission goes wrong, and from there the game hands you one of the most flexible narrative toys in RPG history. Branching missions, a reputation system that tangibly alters who helps you or hates you, and a dialogue mechanic that treated tone itself as a gameplay resource. Be charming, be aggressive, be cold. Each choice changes mission options, companion attitudes, and even available endings. The problem at launch was polish, not imagination. Gunplay felt awkward, animations and AI were inconsistent, and a raft of technical issues turned many reviews into what could have been think pieces that damaged sales and eclipsed what the design actually achieved. But underneath those flaws is a seductive spy RPG hybrid. Character builds are meaningful. Invest in stealth, social skills, or tech, and entire approaches to missions open up. Weapon mods let you tailor loadouts on the fly. NPCs remember slights and favors, and the game shifts because of it, creating emergent storylines where one conversation can close doors or blow the game wide open. Modern players celebrate narrative risk, games that let player tone shape outcomes, where choices ripple across an entire campaign, are precisely the kind of experiences streaming audiences and choice-focused players devour. With a focused remaster or a community-driven patch that tightens aiming, smooths animations, and fixes AI quirks, Alpha Protocol would shine. It's a title that rewards replay, because a different personality build creates new geopolitical fallout. The rough edges aren't a death sentence. They're reparable.
My job is what? To listen?
Silicon Knights spent almost a decade nurturing Too Human, and when it finally arrived in 2008, the expectations were impossible to meet. Meant to be the first entry in a grand sci-fi Norse mythology trilogy, it mixed cybernetic Vikings with loot-driven action RPG systems and twin-stick combat. Players stepped into the role of Baldur, a godlike warrior defending humanity from machine horrors, and from the outset the game hinted at an audacious vision. A sprawling universe where ancient myth and transhuman technology collided. The ambition shows in its mechanics. Instead of standard button combos, it used the right analog stick for melee attacks, letting you flick toward enemies to unleash fluid combos or launch foes into the air for juggle finishers. It was a bold attempt to fuse Diablo-style loot chasing with arcade brawler speed. Deep skill trees encouraged experimentation across its 5 character classes, while a near-endless stream of weapons and cybernetic upgrades scratched the same gear-hunting itch that keeps ARPG fans hooked today. Yet the final product bore the scars of its turbulent development. Lawsuits with Epic Games over Unreal Engine technology, repeated redesigns, and rumors of internal strife left the game technically uneven. The camera could be clumsy, the controls divisive, and the tone veered from pulpy fun to melodrama. Critics hammered the repetitious environments and uneven difficulty, and sales never matched the hype. But judged on its own terms, Too Human remains fascinating. The loot loop is still addictive, the class variety rewarding, and its daring control scheme feels almost experimental compared to safer contemporaries. With modern polish, higher frame rates, streamlined menus, and refined camera work, its Cyber-Norse world could shine. What looked like a flop in 2008 now reads like a prototype for today's action RPGs, a bold swing that deserves another at-bat. When Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning launched in 2012, it seemed to have everything going for it. It delivered a massive single-player RPG packed with quests, dynamic combat, and vibrant art. And yet, despite selling over 1 million copies, the game became synonymous with failure, mostly because of the infamous collapse of developer 38 Studios and publishers' financial woes, which overshadowed the game's quality and killed planned sequels. Amalur's combat is its secret weapon. Where many open-world RPGs relied on clunky swings and floaty magic, Reckoning delivered fast, responsive action closer to a character action game. Players could weave fluid combos of swords, chakrams, bows, and spells, swapping seamlessly mid-battle. The Fate system rewarded precision and timing, letting you unleash spectacular finishers once a meter filled, and generous class flexibility encouraged mixing stealth, sorcery, and might without punishing experimentation. The world of the Phalanx brimmed with color and lore. Factions offered rich quest lines, from a morally gray house of ballads to the secret of travelers. And exploration was a delight thanks to clever environmental storytelling and a sweeping score. Critics enjoyed the gameplay, but noted a lack of memorable characters and a narrative that sometimes felt generic compared to its mechanical brilliance. The financial implosion of 38 studios meant no DLC support beyond the initial expansion and no sequel to refine those rough edges. Today, the remastered Re-Reckoning proves how well the core design holds up. Its lively combat and vast skill customization feel fresher than many modern open worlds weighed down by bloat. With a proper sequel, or a full modern remake that doubles down on character depth, it could finally earn the recognition its energetic systems and beautiful world always deserved.
Come in.